Hi, it's Katrina! From the earliest feathered lizards to giant dogs, here are 10 rare prehistoric beasts. Number 10. The Longisquama. Longisquama lived between 240 and 230 million years ago, and its discovery has cast doubt over the theory that all birds have descended from dinosaurs. They existed more than 80 million years before the first known feathered dinos, but as you can see, they clearly had feather-like structure, or did they? Only one fossil of Longisquama has ever been found, in Kyrgyzstan in the 1960s. Very little is known about the species, but they're thought to have been related to pterosaurs, crocodiles, dinosaurs, and birds. The feather structures have been a great source of debate, though. While some researchers believe they really are feathers, as we think of them, protruding from the small lizard, there are many who think that this particular specimen just so happened to die beneath some leaves of an exotic plant, which left the feather-like imprint behind. Recent reanalysis has suggested that neither explanation is truly correct. The structures go so far into the bones of the spine that they were most likely attached deep beneath the lizard's skin. These are most likely a very early version of a feather, and the structures are noticeably different. Although they have a central filament running along them, they don't branch off in the same way, and they have a thick border along one edge. The Longisquama is therefore most likely an early ancestor of feathered animals, and an important stage in the understanding of the development of dinosaurs and modern-day birds. Number 9. Glyptodon. Glyptodons lived in North and South America during the last ice age, and if they look familiar, that's because they were the ancestors to modern armadillos, just a lot bigger. They were covered from head to tail in a thick casing of protective armor made up of more than 1,000 bony plates, and their heads and armored tails protruded from within the main body shell. Before you think Glyptodons were cute little creatures, they could grow to be the size of a small car and weigh as much as a ton. These animals adapted to live across a range of terrains and would have definitely come into contact with humans. Luckily for our ancestors, they were herbivores, but they would have packed a mean punch if they hit you with the bony club at the end of their tails, which were sometimes spiked. It's thought that one hit would have been enough to instantly crush a person's skull. Number 8. Hallucigenia. The hallucigenia is one of the most bizarre animals to have ever lived. This tiny sea creature lived around 500 million years ago, and since the discovery of the first fossil more than 100 years ago, it has baffled researchers. Growing to less than an inch long and thinner than a strand of hair, they had pairs of huge spines on one side of their body and stick-like claws on the other side. The strange thing, though, was that of all the specimens discovered, none seemed to have a head. Only recently have perfectly preserved fossils been found, complete with their spoon-shaped head. They had a ring of teeth in their mouths and ominously a row of teeth all the way down their throat to their stomachs. This setup would have allowed them to pick up debris from the seafloor and move it all the way down to the gut. Further understanding of the hallucigenia is allowing researchers to understand more about life during the Cambrian era, and they now think that this species is a distant ancestor of the velvet worms that are found across the globe today. Number 7. Beelzebufo Ampinga. The Beelzebufo Ampinga, commonly called the devil frog, is thought to have been the largest species of frog to have ever lived. They were common across Madagascar between 70 and 65 million years ago and grew to up to 16 inches long and 10 pounds in weight and had a large cranial shield for protection. Along with this huge size came an equally mean temper. They are thought to have been terrestrial sit-and-wait predators, taking a bite at anything that passed by. They would have used their powerful jaws and large mouths to eat lizards, small vertebrates, and even any infant dinosaurs that were unfortunate enough to encounter one. It's this behavior that led to the naming of this frog, which literally means armored devil toad. Interestingly, some of their attributes are similar to those seen in species of South America. It's because of this that researchers believe that Madagascar may not have been completely separated from other continents as early as previously thought. It could have been connected to South America and Antarctica as recently as 65 million years ago. Number 6. Estemmenosuchus. The Estemmenosuchus, which means crowned crocodile, was a type of mammal-like reptile called a therapsid that lived between 268 and 266 million years ago. Evidence of two different species have been found, both of which lived near Perm in Russia and had very slight differences from each other. They grew to up to 10 feet long and had massive skulls that were as much as 26 inches in length. On the skull were several sets of large horns, similar to the antlers of a moose, and these grew up and out from the head. Due to the size their bodies grew to, researchers are fairly sure that they were herbivorous, and their legs were arranged in a way that means they probably had to walk long distances and were able to reach all the way to the ground with their mouths to pick up nutritious plants. Number 5. Madtsoia. There are a number of examples of prehistoric animals being much larger than their counterparts that exist today, and there's no better example of this than the Madtsoia, a giant species of snake. Individual vertebrae have been found that were 1.8 centimeters long and 4.3 centimeters tall, which would suggest the entire animal could have been as long as 4.9 meters, with speculation being that there could have been ones as long as 8 meters. They lived at some point between 56 and 40 million years ago, and the best fossils have been found in Madagascar. They were constrictors, so relied on wrapping around their prey and squeezing the life out of them, and their size meant that they would have easily been able to do this to dinosaurs. Interestingly, their jaws weren't able to open as wide as pythons do, so they wouldn't have been able to eat such large prey, in relation to their size, as the constrictor snakes of today can. Pretty cool, right? Number 4. The Siberian Unicorn. The Siberian unicorn, long thought to be the true inspiration behind stories of unicorns, was actually a type of rhinoceros that lived on the grasslands of Eurasia until about 39,000 years ago. Its proper name, Elasmotherium, means thin plate beast, and they grew to up to 16 feet long and weighed as much as 5 tons. Like the rhinos of today, they had a large horn that protruded from their forehead and were herbivorous. Rather than for hunting, the horn was used as a defensive weapon against predators, and also to assist with digging through snow and churning up soil to find water and plant roots. They had longer legs than modern rhinos, though, which would have meant they ran more like a horse. This, combined with the way that they were covered in hair, would have meant that they looked like a very different animal and would explain the horse-like descriptions of unicorns. Eventually, the Elasmotherium went extinct, not because of human activity, but because of the warming planet following the last ice age. This caused the grasslands to retreat, and with a much smaller food source, these beasts had no way to sustain themselves. Number 3. Epicyon. The Epicyon is one of the largest prehistoric dogs known to have lived and roamed the plains of North America between 15 and 5 million years ago. The name means more than a dog, which makes sense because they could grow to 1.5 meters long and weigh more than 136 kilograms. They belonged to the same group as wolves and hyenas and had such powerful jaws and teeth that their heads looked more like a cat's than a modern dog's. Their hunting and feeding habits aren't entirely clear. They definitely fed on meat, but whether this was by hunting down live prey or devouring already dead carcasses is still a matter for debate. Food sources wouldn't have been hard to find because they lived at the same time as other large animals, such as ancestors of camels, antelope, and horses, that would have provided more than enough meat. Number 2. Machimosaurus Rex. The waters of prehistoric oceans and lakes were treacherous places to be, and the Machimosaurus Rex was one of the deadliest predators to have ever lived. As far as we know, they were the largest sea-dwelling crocodiles ever to have lived, terrorizing the waters near modern-day Tunisia around 130 million years ago. They were at least twice the size of the ones today, growing to a massive 9.1 meters long and weighing as much as 3 tons. As you would expect, they had a powerful bite and short, stocky teeth, which would have enabled them to crunch through most prey, in particular the large turtle and fish species found in the same waters. If this is the stuff of nightmares, the largest crocodile ever found was a freshwater species called the Sarcosuchus imperator that lived about 110 million years ago. These beasts grew to 12.2 meters long and weighed 8 tons, an absolute monster. Number 1. Paraceratherium. The Paraceratherium was an absolutely huge species of hornless rhinoceros that lived across China, India, Kazakhstan, and Pakistan around 30 million years ago. They were the largest terrestrial mammals ever known to exist and grew to 15.7 feet tall, 24.3 feet long, and weighed as much as 20 tons. They would have outsized everything else at the time and would easily have eaten vegetation from high up in the canopy of the forest without having to compete with other herbivores. The long legs would have supported the extreme weight like pillars, but also allowed for a long stride, which is far more energy efficient over long distances. The structure of their mouths was unusual and seems to indicate that they had muscular lips that could grip and manipulate food before it entered the mouth. And they had incisor teeth that had adapted to be able to hold branches in place, while the lips retrieved the edible parts of the trees they were feasting on. The Paraceratherium was related to the other rhinoceros species and the ones that are still alive today, but just goes to show how animals evolve over time to take advantage of their surroundings. Nowadays, there simply wouldn't be enough vegetation to support a large number of these creatures, which is one reason researchers think they died out when they did. Thanks for watching! Hope you learned something new today. Which one was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you soon. Bye!